What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to you with a quick video. Like I give y'all more talks on a daily basis, so I just wanted to go over the Washington Wizards, man. Like John Wall was an MVP candidate. Bradley Beal was injured. They was a top two, top three team in the East. Then they had a little slide, and now it's looking like they permanently going to end up being the fifth or the fourth, most likely the fifth, which will make them go against either Chicago, Cleveland, or Toronto. And I remember Charles Barkley and everybody was saying that Washington and Toronto, they right up there with Cleveland, Atlanta, and Chicago to win the championship or to come out the East. They ain't good enough, but they just right there. And now you might have to see a first round match of Toronto and Washington go against each other, and they supposed to be like the teams that could contend. Basically, what I'm trying to say, could contend for a championship, but they just don't got enough right now to beat Cleveland. Maybe in the future, or Atlanta, or Chicago. But now we be looking at a chance that Toronto might face Washington in the first round, and even if Toronto get hot and Chicago fall to the fourth and stay at the fourth, Chicago had to play Washington. So the whole point of this video is we gotta talk about the Washington Wizards. Can they get out of the first round? And on top of that, not just get out the first round, what is their future gonna look like? Because they in between. Because as I remember, they drafted John Wall to be the future point guard. They put John Wall and Gilbert Arenas at the one and the two. That didn't work out. They traded Gilbert to Orlando. They ended up drafting Bradley Beal. The next, they made all these trades to get Gortat, Nene. Then they ended up letting Trevor Ariza go and sign Paul Pierce. So they traded in their rebuilding years. So if they didn't get Nene, Gortat, and Trevor Ariza, who been on the team, if they didn't keep those players, they were just going to be a lottery team or let it be like the Celtics, winning 25, 27, 30 games, but won't make the playoffs. They'd be in the running, but they won't make the playoffs. So they still have a chance to get a top 10 pick, but they end up making that Nene and that Gortat trade to make them better quicker. And now that's kind of, now that I'm looking at Washington roster and how they playing now, the trade made them more of a contender, but it kind of damaged their future. And a lot of people may gonna hate me for that because they a contender. I mean, they ain't a contender; they a playoff team. As long as John Wall and Bradley Beal is gonna be in there with Nene and Gortat, they're gonna be one of the best teams in the East easily. But
But now Nene and Gortat are in their 30s, and John Wall and Bradley Beal are in their early 20s. Then you put them with Paul Pierce and all these older players. You did put some veterans in there, but now they gonna have to go through another phase where Gortat and Nene, they gonna have to find a way to replace them two players and bring in some bigs for John Wall and Bradley Beal because they still in their early 20s. So they could have just drafted Bradley Beal and John Wall and just be sucked for another 2, 3 years. Probably draft Joel Embiid or Nerlens Noel or something like that, and then got young, like developed into a contender. But instead, they wanted to win now, just like the New Orleans Pelicans. They drafted Anthony Davis. He became a superstar last year, basically a top 10 player. Then they wanted to they went out and got Tyree Evans, Omar Ashik, Ryan Anderson. They got better quicker, and now the Pelicans are a team that's a playoff team contender. They right now the AFC, but they might not make it. We don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs or not. But now they kind of got a little stagnant with their money situation. Now the Pelicans can't get that much better with the team they have because they had to pay Tyreek a 4-year deal. Drew Holiday in a max contract. They don't have to lock down. They locked down Eric Gordon on the max, so their money situation going to be stagnant. Luckily, the Pelicans are all young, but the Washington Wizards are a mix between old and young players, and I just don't see this team making it the next 3 years. I don't see this Nene Gortat, John Wall, Bradley Beal situation, and then they're gonna have to pay Bradley Beal his money. I just don't see this situation working out too comfortably for the Washington Wizards. I think they should have just rebuild it a little longer, maybe another 1 to 2 years. Maybe get two more top 10, top second round draft picks
and then try to go for a playoff spot. I don't really like them, Nene and Gortat. I think they are they obviously one of the best teams in the league. They're a top 5 team in the conference. They've been a good team all year, and they made it to the second round last year because they won their first round matchup against Chicago, but Chicago was depleted that year, and Jimmy Butler wasn't even the same player. So they went through a weaker team in Chicago, and they actually beat them. Then they almost beat Indy, but they tricked a couple shots and they were just learning, so they messed up that series and Indy. They could have won it, but they fucked up in the fourth quarter and they ended up blowing that series. And now you look at them, they really, to me, honestly, just my opinion, and that's why I made this video. I just don't feel like the Washington Wizards can get that much better. I don't think they can turn from a 5th seed to a championship contender unless they bring in like Marc Gasol or LaMarcus Aldridge, somebody that's a franchise changing player. With Bradley Beal, he hasn't really showed that he's going to be a superstar. But I can say the same about Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson really didn't show he was going to be a superstar until last year. Mark Jackson played him. He showed he can score, but nobody knew Klay Thompson was going to be a 20-plus scorer this quick. But he was under Monte Ellis, so he had to build his way up, and his work ethic turned him into an all-star. Same with Jimmy Butler. Nobody suspected Jimmy Butler to be a 20-point scorer in the top. They knew he was a good defender, but they didn't know he's going to be a 20-point scorer. It's all about your work ethic. But Bradley Beal just been injured both of these seasons, and he really don't look like a superstar, all-star type player right now. He looks more like a role player, but we're going to have to see how Randy Whitman, if he can use him better to make him better. And John Wall just been struggling offensively, shooting jump shots. If he's not cutting to the paint, going to the free throw line, he just really have a hard time. He can't knock down a three. He can't really knock down the mid range. He can't really score off the pull up jump shot. Nene is real. I love Nene. I love Gortat, but they middle age. They on their way out of the league, and they ain't gonna get that much better. They basically are what they are. So the Washington Wizards are right now, to me, stuck where I don't really see this team, and they stuck with a lot of salary with Gortat and Wall and Nene. They all take up a lot of salary. It's going to be hard for this Washington Wizard team to get better as is unless Bradley Beal pull a Klay Thompson and become a top 5 point guard like DeMar DeRozan out of nowhere became a top 5 point guard last year in the All-Star. He just become a 20 point scorer, 5 assists, 5 rebound, 2 steals player next year, and that can take them up to the Chicago, Atlanta level. But even then, they still won't be. I don't think they'd be able to beat the depth of Cleveland and Chicago and Toronto, versatile scoring and a lot of scoring. So it's gonna be. I just confused with the Washington Wizards right now. Of what they're gonna do in the free agency, if they're gonna get a better bench, more shooters, if they're gonna keep Nene and Gortat for the next couple years, or they're just gonna let Nene and Gortat play another 2 years or 3 years and then see where they're gonna go. I'm just saying, I just don't see where they're gonna go with this Washington Wizard team. Only best case scenario, Bradley Beal turns out into an all-star next year or a year after that. But other than that, this team is basically stuck and is what it is. And Paul Pierce only signed a 2-year deal. And Otto Porter Jr. has really been inconsistent. And he was a top pick that draft, but he really been inconsistent all year. He had some games where he was good. He had a lot of games where he just couldn't shoot a wide open 3 the whole game. And he just struggled to finish. I've been watching the Washington Wizards play. And Otto Porter Jr., I was a fan of his, but he really is a role player. He's not really a small franchise changing small forward. He's just really a solid role player. He could get better. He is athletic. He can play defense. He can work on the shot a lot more and become better. But if Otto Porter Jr. can become a top 10 small forward, Bradley Beal can become a top 6, top 5 power small shooting guard, like a Monte Ellis, DeMar DeRozan type shooting guard, then maybe this team could be a championship contender team in the future. But right now, they borderline contender, but they mix with veteran players, so they can't get that much better. It's confusing what they're going to have to do in the future. I don't think they can beat Toronto, Cleveland, Washington, or the Bulls in a 7-game series, as is, to be honest. And Martell Webster fell off. Rasul Butler, he was hot in the beginning of the year. He fell off a lot. So Washington, they really ain't the team. They confused right now. Comment, like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think.